All right, well, joining me now is Bob Beers, Bruins radio analyst from 98.5 The Sports Hub. Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you too, Steve.
A lot
Been
going
a long
on in Bruins
time.
Nation. Let's talk about this fire sale. Let's start with the captain because that's the obvious place to start. Were you surprised that they made this trade?
Trade, no. But the team that he went to, yes. Very surprised he went to Florida, and a little disappointed actually he went to Florida. I know that their hands might have been tied a little bit in that department, but by the sounds of it, when Don Sweeney had his press conference the other day and talking about term,
Mm-hmm.
how long the contract should be, they really never even got the term. It sounds like, but or excuse me, the amount of money, but the term seemed to be something that they couldn't bridge,
Right.
and decided to make that move. So not necessarily surprised about the move, just like I said, surprised and a little disappointed about the team that he's going to.
Yeah, no, I don't. I understand that. I get all that. They get a conditional second round pick, could be a first, depending on how much he plays. But did they get enough for Brad Marchand?
Well, on the surface, no. But you take into consideration the injury that he has, and he's not
Mhm.
ready to play yet, and how much will he be able to play? I think that kind of hindered um, the trade market, because you see some of the other prices that were paid out there. If you look around the league and look at some of the other trades that were made, the price was fairly high. And you had a guy going to Toronto, and Scott Lawton from Philadelphia, that got a first round pick. And I would have liked to have seen a guaranteed first round pick, but I think the injury had a lot to do with it, and the fact that they couldn't get that because of the injury. If he was healthy, fully healthy, I think they definitely would have gotten a first round pick.
Did they part on good terms? And is there a possibility Marchand could come back?
I hope so. I hope so. That's always the hope. He's meant so much to this organization. The respect factor is off the charts in terms of what he has done and what he has meant to this organization. So I would hope that is still a possibility. That's to be determined. That's he goes on a long run with Florida and maybe wins a cup, and you
Yeah,
kind of hope that for him. And we saw that with Ray Bork back in the
right.
when he got traded to Colorado.
Colorado, right.
But I hope the best for him. And there's a lot to like about Florida, as much as we don't like them. They've beaten us a couple of times in the playoffs here over the last few years. So, but I hope the best for him. And if the best for him is coming back here to Boston, open arms. Please, come on back.
All right, Bruins made 5 trades on Friday, 7 overall. And let's move on to some other guys here. Brandon Carlo, he's gone as well. What does that do for this hockey team? And who are they getting in return? Who are the guys they're bringing in here? Because it doesn't sound like they're bringing any big name guys in. Obviously, they're unloading money here, but this team is in a total rebuild.
They are definitely with the Carlo trade. They actually did very well. And look, we don't know that they got Fraser Minton is coming back in return. He's a prospect. He's a blue chip prospect. Everybody says, look, this guy's going to be a good player. I haven't seen him play. I don't know, but that's the word on the street. And then they get a first round pick. So for Don Sweeney, and I know we'll get into some of the other guys as well that got traded, but it's a matter of, in his staff, Don Sweeney and his staff, how do they draft and how do they develop? Because now they've got some draft picks coming in that they didn't have before. They were going for the Stanley Cup before. They were in the playoffs. They were the team that was buying, so they were giving up first round picks. Now they're getting picks back, and how do they draft? How do they develop? And then some of the players that are coming in already as prospects, whether it was the Coyle trade or whether it was the Carlo trade, they're getting, bodies coming in, but they're not quite ready yet.
Right.
So how do they develop these guys? How do they continue to develop these guys? And do they identify the players that are going to help this team moving forward in the future?
We mentioned Brandon Carlo. You mentioned Charlie Coyle. He's going to Colorado. These guys that Sweeney traded away, the irony is they're all going to playoff teams for the most part.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And that says something. Well, I mean, the teams that are buying are playoff teams, right? The teams that are adding to their rosters are playoff teams, and that's been us. That's been the Bruins in the past. The one thing that Steve, that I look at, that that concerns me is every guy that leaves, that has left via trade, they're all quality people. They're all really good people. They're all very well respected in the locker room. Who does the locker room belong to now? Well, that's something that's big.
Who's the leader? Who's the leader of this hockey?
Well, it's because McAvoy's not playing right now because he's injured. It's obviously Pastrnak, but it's going to be McAvoy, Pastrnak, and who? So when Marchand was out, when McAvoy was out, the guys that were wearing the letters, so it was the assistant captains was Pastrnak, it was Coyle, it was Carlo. Now all these guys are gone, so it's a big void. It's a big void, and it's going to be a huge question mark kind of moving forward. Who is the leader of this team right now? And obviously, it's going to be McAvoy, Pastrnak, but are they ready for it? Can they lead? And who else steps up in that department?
A couple more, I'll let you go. One, Don Sweeney. How much of a shelf life does he have? I like Sweeney. I like what he's done, but then again, there's a lot of pressure on this guy now to deliver because he's gotten rid of coaches, right? And you know what? Now this team has to step up and rebuild, start all over again. And how much of a leash does Sweeney have?
Well, they wouldn't have let him make these deals if he wasn't going to be here. So he's going to be here. And how much leash? He's had what, 3 different coaches now, and Joe Sacco's an interim coach,
right?
So maybe 4 moving forward. That's a lot. And your draft and development, I go back to that again. This is going to be huge for them. So the draft picks that they're getting aren't going to be ready to play for a couple more years. They're not high first-round picks. They're
and
lower.
Ownership knows that, correct?
Yes, they have to know that. I mean, that's the deal going in. But at the same time, it's you've got to develop some of the guys that you've drafted already, and I think that's critical for the Bruins moving forward. If you're going to make these trades and bring in picks and then free agency this summer,
right? Because
they're going to have a lot of money to spend in free agency, and I think that the 2 main free agents that they brought in last year, Lindholm and Zadorov, are still very questionable, and how they fit and have they delivered to the point where, or to the to the place where you thought that they could deliver.
Right.
I don't think they have. So who you bring in as a free agent is going to be big for them as well.
All right, my man. Thank you very much. Good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks, Stevie. Appreciate it.